talk about our new permit in Italy. I say it's new, but we've been working on this for over 12 years. And with me will be our CEO, Paul Fink, our Italy manager, Giuseppe Rigo, and Paolo Pace, who's our Italian geoscience advisor. But I'll start just with a little bit of an introduction, and then we'll move into Italy because we've got a lot to cover in Italy. Evie, could you go to slide 3, please? Yeah. So look, most of you who know us know what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep our production rate up. We're able to increase it during the last quarter. We recently announced a revision of our exploration portfolio in Austria, and really a new string to our bow is this Italy portfolio in the Sicily Channel. We've been working on this for a long, long time, and it's not just been our work in Sicily, it's also been our work in Tunisia. And Paul Fink will talk about how we got introduced to this and why we got excited about it from our work in Tunisia. But look, what underscores our ability to actually be successful is obviously the most important thing is people, and we do have a very good team of people in Austria. They look after Austria, to some extent Romania, but also now they'll be supporting our Sicily Channel block. And that's really, really important because unlike many companies of our size, we still have the capacity, the capability to originate opportunities, which is not necessarily the case for most small exploration companies nowadays. There's some feedback somewhere. If you guys, other guys could go on mute. Thank you. Next slide, please, Ev. So yeah, look, this is just a summary of where we are. Our strategic presence is very much about Italy, Austria, and we've been a bit dormant in Romania, but you'll probably hear more about that as well in the near future. But what we have in Sicily, which has some, if you like, is quite common to also what we've been doing in Austria, is a large database, because without data in our game, you can't do anything. So having that data really makes a lot of difference in the time frame for exploration, but obviously also our ability to look at a block and see its potential before we're even awarded it. And that's certainly been the case with the Sicily Channel, and it was also the case in Austria. And that certainly accelerated our exploration and development timeframes. Next, please, Ed. So our recent activities are summarised there. Our financial activities, as I mentioned earlier, our production rate was up last quarter, so we managed to go up around 23%. We still increased sales revenue despite a drop in Brent by about 10%. So really what we've been working on primarily has been, and you'll hear a lot more about this, has been our shallow gas prospects in Upper Austria. We're not going to cover those today, but you'll hear a lot more about them in the near future. And we're working on drilling 3 wells there in the first quarter of 2026. And this is a really exciting, play for us. And look, what we're doing really is a bit of a switch in terms of really focusing in the near term on building our production rate up, building our cash flow up, and also focusing more on gas, because definitely gas in Europe is very highly sought after, both in Austria and Italy, which are very big net importers of gas. Unfortunately, our well chow activities remain on hold due to environmental objections, but we're really moving forward now with the shallow gas, and we'll hope with additional data we'll have a lot more to say on the Sicily Channel. Next, please, Ed. So why are we here? Well, why are we in Italy? Why are we in Austria? There's a number of reasons. Certainly, the demand for energy is really important. You know, gas in Austria is at about $12 an MCF equivalent. That's about 4 times what you get in the US. Italy's even higher than that, and Giuseppe will explain why. But really, where a lot of exploration companies become undone is they go and find something really sweet and then they can't develop it. Some big gorilla won't give them access to their infrastructure, or alternately, particularly if you're working offshore, the cost of development is relatively high. Now, we made a conscious decision to go onshore because of the rapid pathways, to commerciality. I think Italy is a bit of an exception, and the reason we like it, it's shallow drilling and it's shallow water depth, so it gives you a much better chance with the infrastructure around us to get things happening very quickly. Like in Austria, we've got good data availability, and really that's what attracted us to this permit. Initially for oil and then subsequently for gas. But then the other important thing is operating environment. In Austria, other than well chow, we were able to get things done very quickly. We can get licensed to drill a well anywhere between 4 to 6 months. In Australia now, it takes over 2 years. In fact, in Australia now, you can be offered offshore acreage and you're not allowed to shoot seismic. So there's a lot of nonsense going on. I think what we see in Europe, who've been, trying to make a switch to renewables for a lot longer than we have in Australia, they've recognised that actually we're going to need oil and gas for a hell of a lot longer than anyone was previously predicting. And the good thing is their governments are actually prepared to admit it, so they actually recognise gas as a transition fuel. Next, please. So, look, this just really summarises our activities over the next few months or quarters, and the main things to focus on will be in Q1 26. We'll be kicking off with the drilling of those at least 2 firm wells plus an option. I think we'll probably by the end of September, early October, we'll probably be going for 3 firm wells. So these are low risk wells, very high probability of success. First well we drill, we rank about 80% chance of success, which is unheard of. But you'll get another webinar on shallow gas, and we'll be able to go through that in much greater, if you like, clarity. The other important thing is, we do have a 3,000 barrel a day facility at Anshoff. We're producing about 120 barrels a day now. Obviously, we're really looking forward to picking that up. But there's about 10 million barrels of prospectivity lying around Anshoff, and we probably want to get after that around the second or third quarter of 2026. Now, what you're going to see in the Sicily Channel, primarily in the near term, is Paul and the team will get their hands on more seismic, more well data, and with that data, we'll be able to update our view of the prospectivity and our resources. And we're pretty comfortable about where this is going, and we expect to be able to put out a CPR on this just to give not only investors greater confidence, but also at some stage we'll be looking to also introduce a farm-in of it being in an asset like this at 100% does give us the opportunity to introduce someone who can either pay for 3D seismic or a well or a combination of both. Next, please, Ed. Okay, so that's the agenda. Giuseppe is going to take you through the background of the energy sector in Italy, and then Paolo will go through some of the historic exploration and production, explain a little bit about the play that we're chasing and the proven analogies that surround us. And then Paul will talk about the data availability we have, which really gives us the confidence in this permit, and then what our forward program is. And after that, I'll just give you a bit of a sort of an indication of what this could look like with success. Next, please, Ev. And over to you, Giuseppe.
Okay, Thank you, Ian, and good morning, everyone. As most of you probably know, Italy is a parliamentary republic with a multi-party system, with a president of the republic who appoints the prime minister. The current prime minister, Giorgia Meloni, is in charge since 2022. And all the polls tell us that she will remain in charge until the end of her mandate, which is until the end of 2027. We can say that Italy is currently a stable country with a growing economy. In fact, most of the Italian government's effort has been focused on economic recovery. Italy's economy grew with a 0.4% increase in gross domestic production, GDP, in the second quarter of 2025. And the fiscal deficit narrowed to 3.4% of GDP in 2024, down from 7.2% in 2023. Also in the E&P sector, Parliament is working to simplify authorization processes and accelerate the startup of gas fields production. Above all, two examples are the Argo Cassiopea gas fields in the Sicily Channel, not far from our permit, and the Longanesi gas fields in the Po Valley area. Italy has a very low domestic production and a high natural gas demand. Net Italian gas imports has been stable since 2021 at around 95%. In 2024, Italy's natural gas production reached the record low of 2.9 billion cubic meters, while the country's consumption reached some 59 billion cubic meters. In addition, unlike other countries in Europe, Italy has no operational nuclear power plants. We can see how increased domestic production should be an important target of this government, even because it offers the opportunity to lower Italian energy cost, which is among the highest in Europe. Next slide, please. The licensing system in Italy is similar to that of many other countries. In Italy, hydrocarbon deposits are by law unavailable assets of the state. Exploration and exploitation of hydrocarbon is left in concession to private companies. These companies must prove their technical, organizational, and economic capacity before being granted an exploration permit. The exploration permits are of 6 years initial length, with 2 possible renewals of 3 years each. Holders can carry out any kind of geological and geophysical survey following a work program previously submitted to the Ministry of Environment. Anyway, drilling of 1 well is the minimum commitment required. But in Italy, the drill or drop rule applies. This means that companies can relinquish a permit without incurring any particular penalties, other than paying a small fine and being unable to reapply for the same area in the next 5 years. Even in the E&P sector, Italy has a very favorable fiscal terms. The corporate income tax rate is around 27%. The standard regional tax rate on productive activities, IRAP, is 3.9%. In addition, there are a number of allowances on exploration and development, and spending and deductions are allowed for royalties and operating costs. About royalties, a 10% royalty is charged for offshore gas production. Next slide, please. This figure shows the gas network in the area of our permit, which is shown in the western side of the figure. The gas network in the area of our permit is connected to the TransMed pipeline, which is the major import route for gas into Italy from Algeria. In fact, the CR 150 permit is located approximately 50 kilometers from a potential gas tie-in point onshore near Lippone Mazzara gas field that you can see in the western side of the island of Sicily. The total capacity of this pipeline is 33 billion cubic meters per year. There is another network on the east connecting Argo Cassiopeia to the Sicily island, which is called the Green Stream pipeline, which is part of the Western Libyan gas project. This is it. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. We can pass to the other. Okay.
Okay, Paolo, you're next. Thank you very much. You're on mute.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. Hello to everyone. So the permit in the Sicily Channel holds a very high exploration potential in terms of oil and gas. And one of the most obvious reasons to apply for this license back in the time was the redevelopment of the prematurely abandoned Nile oil field that was discovered by Agip at the time in early 70s. This field was then abandoned during the late 80s during the unfavorable economic condition that time. The reassessment of the field done in 2018, 2016 by ADX shows an important remaining potential of developing contingent resources of about 34 million barrels, and also prospective other areas within the license still targeting the Nile formation for the oil potential. The exploration application for exploration license, the 363, then turned to be the CR 150 exploration permit awarded in August 2025. Next, please. This slide shows the current exploration and production activities in Sicily related to gas. We have the ADX license just southwest of the Lippone Mazzara field, which is a field developed by Eni. Then we have other two exploration licenses, along with a production license just in the south of Sicily, nearby the core of the Sicily Channel, where we have the Argo Cassiopeia gas fields being produced and the Gemini gas discovery just announced last year, along with other gas fields and several prospects that were identified in these licenses. The Lippone Mazzara production license, then it's the direct analog to the what we are chasing offshore nearby. Next, please. The Argo Cassiopeia fields are actually two important gas fields that were put on production on August last year. These fields are located in a water depth of about 500 to 600 meters, and they are declared as the biggest offshore gas fields in Italy, up to 10 BCM or 350 BCF approximately. It's a biogenic gas play that is trapped in structural stratigraphic trapping within the 4 deep deposits of the Pleistocene in age. This is developed through 4 subsea wells that are tied back to the Prezioso K platform and then down to the processing plant facility in onshore at the Gela site. On the lower right, we can see the numerous fields that are within this yellow section of the Pleistocene 4D sequence. Next, please. The 3D seismic really is playing an important role to map the prospectivity and the risk, the structures in this area. These are latest 3D process data that shows the Argo Cassiopeia anomaly over the field, producing gas field, and the satellite Gemini that was successfully drilled last year. The size of the this Gemini discovered around 100 BCF, and the seismic section shows the nicely vertically stacked hydrocarbon reservoirs that are piled up along the vertical trajectory. The total gas that is within the system, it's around 600 BCF with very good recovery factors up to 75%. Next, please. The ADX experience in the area, as Paul will show also later, from the Tunisia Pantelleria area back in 2010, show that the acquisition of high-resolution 3D seismic really unlocks the prospectivity for the shallow gas potential in the 4D basins. And these two examples nicely shows the amplitude anomalies within these siliciclastic sequences, proving again the potential of the gas prospectivity in the whole area. Next, please. The Lipone Mazzara producing gas fields onshore Italy is the direct analog to our case. This is an historical gas field from ENI. The main reservoir is the sandstones of Upper Miocene in age of the Terra Vecchia formation with traps in truss-related faults and pop-up structures having biogenic gas, 99% methane, that are sourced by the shales and the argillites in the, within the same formation. Next, please. So based on this exploration concept, we had, from the previous assessments on looking at the seismic, we have identified this 4D section of the Terra Vecchia formation above the Nilder formation of the carbonates that which bears oil. These lines shows that are amplitude anomalies that are showing the reflectivity of the Terra Vecchia formation and the potential even on the O2D seismic. So the reservoir has a good porosity sandstone and perhaps also conglomerate facies with up to 33%. The hydrocarbon type is the pyogenic gas methane, like the Lipone Mazzara analog. And there are several shows within the drilled wells in the area that supports in the surroundings and also within the license the gas potential of this formation. Next, please. Particularly when I focus on the ADX license, there is the Nilder 2 well that was one of the main producer of the oil from the Nilder formation that reported several gas shows in the overlying sandstones and siliciclastic sequence of the Terra Vecchia formation. And this one is one of the lines that were already purchased by the company that shows the structural position of the well and the gas shows potentially extended throughout the section above the oil field. These shows were recorded as all as methane within the sandstones that were recorded. Next, please. It's one of the key messages showing the difference between the legacy 2D line acquired during the 80s, like the lines that were showing the slide before, and what a new 3D it's potentially showing in the area. The dramatic improvement of the imaging, it's really de-risking the prospectivity of this area. This is the line example from DNI Argo Cassiopeia fields that shows in the right the Cassiopeia field with the amplitude anomalies vertically stacked, and also additional potential as the Vela prospect. So this is a key, the seismic that can really de-risk the prospectivity within this license. So with this I'll handle to Paul.
Okay, mille grazie. Thank you very much, Paolo. My name is Paul Fink. I used to work for ADX at OMV many years ago, also in the Italian part. And why we like this area very much is because there was a big chance that there's a lot of oil to be recovered still in the first ever offshore production of the company ENI, it's called now, offshore Sicily. I show you a picture to the right, which is a public presentation, the first offshore of oil production in Italy. So ENI was very proud of that. But there was not a lot of possibility to look at gas prospectivity because they couldn't see it really on the seismic. But as Paolo said, very interesting on the oil exploration, on the oil production, you could see always a little bit of gas, and also the gas reservoirs of the gas was proven there. But in the old days, you know, because you didn't see the details, and oil in the 70s was the most important thing, not much happened. Anyway, we were very interesting. We got a large area. It was then called D363. And we applied for it and were hoping to start some oil production. And therefore, we bought quite a bit of data, both of the seismic. The old seismic started in the 70s, 80s, and ENI, despite the fact that the production was stopped in the mid-80s, in the 90s for some other reasons. And we got a lot of the seismic data. We will get more in the future, by the way. And also we bought a lot of data on well data. Yeah, so we have got core data. Here's a nice picture in the middle of photography of ENI, because we went to ENI, to Milano is the place called, looked at the data, got a lot of the core data of the wells, and made some production analysis. And we thought there's a lot of investment. We also had families, and our production will significantly increase in Italy. Let's go to the next slide. Unfortunately, with the politics on the next slide, what happened, and you see a few pictures here, maybe start to the bottom right one. What happened in 2019, there was a discussion in Italy, moderation of offshore and onshore exploration. In essentially, we were stopped, yeah, and we all wondered what would happen there, because for some legal reasons, they thought a little bit for environmental reasons to have stopped on oil production. And to the bottom right, you see our area. It was called D363 with a green color. And they cut it out and made it smaller and smaller again. And we only were allowed to keep the green area and make somewhere years later maybe an application. What they thought in the old days is that maybe a lot of companies disappear out of Italy anyway. Also, ENI was spending a lot of money, much more in Egypt, for example, what's happening in Italy. And you see also on the top left how large our initial area was and how it gets smaller and smaller. So we thought, what are we going to do in Italy? We've got in Tunisia options. We've got also in Romania new options, in Austria. Okay. But we found actually that there is quite a bit of gas. So like he and I, in the old days, the question was not, is there a reservoir, is there gas? The question was, how do the economics look like? And Ian will, in the end, make a nice description of the economics upside. Anyway, in a short statement, after February 2019, we then made an application that we would like to stop, of course, because we were obliged to do that on oil, but make an application for gas exploration in the D363 area, which then, when the politics was changed, I think Paolo or Giuseppe already mentioned the manager. Sorry, the Meloni Giorgia is her name. She's the president of Italy, and a lot of things changed. Anyway, so we had to apply. We sent a lot of data. We did a lot of checking, and then we found, with the initial work on that we have a lot of shallow gas prospects, very different reservoir, much shallower, sediments, which are high productivity. And then very quickly, the Italian Ministry of Environment and Energy gave us an approval. And the approval then became officially, you probably have seen it, in August 2025. And this was our key work on that. So in summary, our area got a bit smaller. It got again larger with the new Italian Ministry of Environment. And here's the area. Let's go to the next slide. There's a lot of pictures on there, but what I would like to tell you, people are serious interested in our area, which has a different name now. It's CR 150 AU now to the top left, and I've got number 1, 2, 3, 4. The number 1 is our area, and you probably have heard already that from old fields called Nilde 2, for example, on the left, not only deeper down where the oil was found, we already found, and this was E&I and a company called Shell, they had 50%, and they did some details, actually Shell, and they found that there is some reservoir, some very good reservoir, and also gas. And as opposed to the deeper limestone, we've got sandstone, very high resolution, and it was all proven. And Paolo has shown this to you already. On the right, there's another example. It shows also the reservoirs. So we thought, like E&I, okay, we've proven the reservoir, we've proven the gas, but how large is it? And how many do you have? And the point I would like to make is actually 2 points. Point number 1 is that if you look on the left, for example, on our 3D in Tunisia and Pantelleria, so we showed seismic both in Italy and also in Tunisia, is that with the high resolution 3D seismic, we can prove very nicely a lot of reservoirs of sandstones. Very high resolution 3D gives you an indication of high porosity. And why all the companies wanted to drill a lot deeper, because they knew there's big prospects in there, very large ones. The shallow gas was also sort of a secondary idea, but you can see it very nicely. That's my point number 1. And the point number 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 is that there are many proofs of gas production or gas presence, both onshore, number 3, for example, which is Paolo presented that to you, onshore, exactly the same reservoir, it's called, the age is Tortonian, it's all Miocene, they give it an Italian name, Terravecchia, excuse my Italian language, is proven onshore on number 3. It's proven offshore, number 2, on the Italian and Tunisian edge, Pantelleria and Tunisia, on our seismic. You can see flat spots. You can see exactly where the gas is and where the water starts. Under the bottom right, number 4, we've mentioned this a few times. This is the Argo-Cassiopeia area, which E&I knew for many years as well. But they also drilled deeper for oil. And they also did not know whether this would be economically attractive. And then with the new 3D and now the very latest 3D, instead of maybe 1 or 2 reservoirs, which we could see on some of the very old 2D seismic lines, look at this. You see not only 1 reservoir, you see 10, 14, 15 reservoir. And that's why even the small structures is economically highly profitable. So in other words, where we are in number 1, we're surrounded by A, reservoirs, and B, gas. And now the latest point is the productivity is also highly commercial. And by the way, the latest yearly report, which Eni is a very, very large international company now, the number one talking, even with the presidents in the photograph, are very proud of this as well, because this is now one of the cleanest shale gas production of Italy, of Eni, and one of the most important ones. Yeah, and this is where our area also, because of Eni, has become a very attractive one. Next slide. Yeah, so this is a bit more detail. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but what I'm showing you on here is an old 2D seismic line. So what is our planned working program? We're now moving from the lot of data of the deeper oil to the shallow gas. We have a lot of data, but we now need a lot more data from Eni and other companies on the seismic. We're going to do the 2D seismic, the old one, reprocessing. And already the reprocessing, I'm sure, will improve our understanding. Number one, we have a lot of prospects, which are simple structures, about 6, 7, 8. Officially, we published those 5, I think. But there's a lot more potentials, yeah, which are so-called strat traps, pinch outs, yeah, which I think we will get a lot more. You can see already on the right on the old seismic, it's brightening, it's getting up. Now we know with well data and productivity from Eni and also on the Tunisian side that this is for sure a reservoir, this is for sure gas. We also see on the top left of the seismic, there's not only one reservoir, there's already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if you just count the bright part of the seismic. So in other words, more seismic, more 2D seismic, reprocessing, and we will prove some of the reservoirs. The chance of success will hugely increase. We get to 90% on the 100% on the geological side. Economics is another discussion. And we will prove maybe more reservoirs and new prospects. Yeah. The second part, of course, is as we did in the past in the Eni area, with Eni together, we get some well data, drilling data. We will look at the reservoirs in detail as well, and again can look at the porosity. As Paolo showed to you already, our reservoir, which is a little bit older than the Eni one, but it's all Miocene, the so-called Terra Vecchia, has porosities up to 33%. Yeah, our economics initially resources were based on 22-24%. We could get an improvement there. So this is for the next year our key working. Get seismic, do reprocessing, look at well data, get new economics, get new resources. Next slide. Thank you. Yeah, so here is the planned working program for the further activities and what are the results. I think I've mentioned this already. If you look at the upside resources, yeah, so the officially announced ASX were 369, our best case, yeah. If you're more conservative, you use 300 BCF, I think, for economics. But our future is in the next 2 years, we will decide where we could shoot new seismic, new 3D seismic. Just look at the picture at the bottom right. Yeah, there is both of them 3D examples on the Eni area. Yeah, this is again the Argo Cassiopeia area. On the 2D, which Paolo showed you, you see nothing. Nothing apart from the deeper oil reservoirs, but nothing on the gas. They shot 3D seismic about 10, 12 years ago, and they could see already indications. The question was still, is there sufficient reservoirs to make us rich to have very highly positive economics? And the answer was probably yes after the first 2 wells. And then they showed brand new 3D seismic Eni to the right, which Paolo also has presented. And you see immediately on the brightness how many reservoirs are there. This is more than 10 reservoirs. So this means, again, a small structure is highly economic because you've got so many production reservoirs. And this is also our objective. Once we've done the 2D, once we've done the reprocessing, once we've done the new resources, potentially got more reservoirs, potentially got new prospects, then our current P10 of 700 BCF will, in my view, very likely become a most likely one. So we're gonna come up with 500 to 700 BCF. We're probably talking about TCFs. So this is our hope and our good reason. Also, at that day, we already will talk to farminees. There are some companies potentially interested. And with the 2D reprocessing, together with them, we could also do some 3D, but Ian is going to talk about our objectives here. Let's go to the next slide. And indicative potential in case of success, yeah, is something I hand over to Ian now on the economics. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, look, so what we wanted to do is just to give you an indication of what success might look like. Of course, this is just arm waving at the moment, but what I have done is go to an engineering group and put together what a development plan would look like in this area. Now, Argo Cassiope has got quite a complicated development plan. They've got subsea wells, and then they've got a processing platform up on the shelf. The big difference between Argo Cassiope and where we are, we're at 100 metres of water. Where they've made their discoveries, they're at 700 metres of water. So this is a much more benign potential development. We're also much closer to shore. We're around 50 kilometres from a potential tie-in point. So that actually speaks to the kind of actually developments that I've been pretty used to in the Northwest Shelf, which are very simple subsea tiebacks, and this is what we would be looking at. Now, what we've tried to do is say, well, what would a well look like? What are you likely to produce from some of these wells? And certainly if you get the stack pay, you'd probably be looking at, say, at least sort of 50 BCF a well. We've assumed pretty low flow rates of around 15 million standard cubic feet, which if you've got a stack pay of with 30% plus porosity, obviously you could do a much more than that. So the key things to think about is we're in shallow water. We're in relatively shallow drill depths. Some of these reservoirs come in at, say, 600 metres, between 600 metres and 1,600 metres. So that obviously is going to affect your well costs. So you're in jack-up drilling here rather than floater territory. And the advantage of being able to tie back your wells is also a big advantage in that you need very minimal offshore infrastructure other than subsea wellheads, manifolds, and a subsea pipeline. The other important thing here, again, once you get onshore, there's at least 2 open access pipelines that you can access, and there's ullage in both of them. So again, you're not going to be held out of pipelines. The key is just to be able to get onshore in a relatively low cost way. And because this is going to be clean biogenic gas, you're not going to have the benefit of condensate, but you are going to have the benefit of the fact that you're not going to have slugging in your offshore pipelines. You're not going to have a complicated onshore plant. And then last of all, as Giuseppe said, favourable fiscal terms will really help. So what we've assumed is we're going to have to go and drill 4 exploration wells. A couple of those wells we might use as producers. In all, we'd have 6 development wells, and we'd be off to the races with 3 or 4 fields. And then we'd get a tie-in at Mazzara. Now, there's also a possibility with Laponi now down to about 90% of its reserves already produced, that you could even utilise their onshore facility. So there are potentially also some, if you like, synergies that we could take advantage of. So all up, when you can look at this in your own time, we're talking about a development cost of around 380 million US, say $500 million Aussie, and for an offshore project, that's still relatively expensive, but the big advantage you have here is you've got a very high gas price. So for 300 BCF, you can still make a hell of a lot of money.
$1.25 a gigajoule.
Yeah. Next, please. So this is just kind of very high level what the economics would look like. A revenue split, again, we're pretty fortunate in a pretty low corporate tax and royalty regime. So net revenues, going to be pretty close to, half of your sales revenue, which is always going to be very attractive for any energy project. We're assuming that we're producing this over 10 or 12 years, which is pretty standard for an oil and gas, for a gas development, where you try to maintain a plateau. But clearly, if you're going to be generating, 1.6 billion of revenue, this could be a very, very, very valuable asset. All right, so that's what we had for you today. Thanks for your time. Thanks, Giuseppe, Paolo, and Paul. And I think the main thing to take away from this, we're at the very early stage of if you like, an exploration area that, surprisingly, given it's on the doorstep of Europe, is very, very underexplored. And we managed to, maybe by persistent, maybe partially by accident, we actually went in there because Paul could see one of the best oil reservoirs in the Mediterranean, but we may have just come up with one of the best gas addresses in the Mediterranean. So yeah, we're really anxious to get more data and be able to update you all on what the potential resources could be like. And then with that sort of data, we can go and do reprocessing and then target where we go from here. But it's a great opportunity to have in one of the highest value gas markets on the planet, and when you're right on the doorstep. Thank you very much.
I've just got
I think we may have some questions, Evie.
Yeah, we do. So a couple have come through, and I've just got a couple on the registration as well, but I'm just going to hit these ones up first. What is the minimum volume of gas required to justify a development?
Yeah, look, I'd say probably you're going to need about 150 BCF. So just looking at what the numbers look like, that's what we'd be thinking.
Okay, and the wells are shallow, resulting in low cost. How does the shallow depth of the reservoir impact reservoir pressure and flow rates? How does the reservoir pressure compare with ENI and energy and producing field?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you do have shallow gas, one of the issues you will have is potentially higher depletion rates because of the pressure. One of the advantages you do have, though, if you've got multiple reservoirs, is you can start from the bottom. As they deplete, you can move up to higher reservoirs where your pressure is maintained. But certainly ENI expects that they'll be recovering around 50 BCF per well, and we've assumed similar numbers. But for the same reason, we've also assumed relatively low flow rates for these types of reservoirs. I mean, the other issue you may have with shallow reservoirs that are highly permeable is also sand production. So you don't want to be sort of cranking wells up too highly. But certainly 15 million a day is a pretty conservative rate.
Okay, and just another question here, and they're both quite similar, just with regards to finance capabilities to develop and commission offshore natural gas production. Do we have the the finance capabilities to be able to do that, or do we need to go back to the market? What's the actual
Yeah, look, I think if we're successful here, we'll be probably going back to the market many times at much higher price. So look, you don't want to put the cart before the horse. I mean, obviously, a lot of the drilling we do is through farm outs, and that's probably going to be our strategy here as well, to be able to make a discovery. Once you've made a discovery, then obviously your capitalisation changes and your capacity to raise funds will change. But I'd also expect this type of project to be very, very highly financeable, not only from conventional banks, but also for trading houses who just can't get enough gas into their portfolio.
Well, exploration success would surely attract farming partners anyway.
Oh, look, no doubt. But I mean, we proved, we've done it many times already in Austria. We did it in Tunisia. The Lambuca well we drilled was in 700 meters of water and down to nearly 3,000 meters, and we farmed that out also. So it is something that Paul and his team are very good at, and I don't think it's going to stop now.
That's great.
Can I make one additional comment to that?
Please.
Also on the positive side, as opposed to many other countries on the planet, if you get an area, you have a lot of obligations. In Italy, we don't. We can keep this area. I think Giuseppe very briefly mentioned this for 4 years. And within these 4 years, we can wait for 4 years until we drill one well. So the obligation is very small. Yeah. So our initial cost, as I mentioned earlier, is relatively low. And that means, again, for the farm out process, we have plenty of time. We would like to do it very quickly, but the cost initially is going to be quite low.
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, well, that's it with the questions. I don't think anybody else had any more. I'll just give you guys a couple more seconds to submit some questions if you've got them.
I've also got some nice people in the room. Maybe they might have some questions as well.
I would ask one. You did that chart there with a breakup of the costs and that. Could you go back to that and just mention to us what was the yearly production and what was the 50% was the revenue component? Yeah. So what did that equate to on a yearly basis?
Evie, can you go back?
Yeah, hang on. Let me just pull it up.
Well, the question is, what does the production look like on a
90 million cubic feet a day.
Yeah, 90 million cubic feet a day. So, but obviously that's the plateau rate, and you just get obviously a gradual decline from that. But I suppose you want to know what that means in cash flow.
The bars, the red bars on that.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to read. I couldn't see too clearly here.
So, sorry guys, what slide am I looking at?
Keep going. The second last slide.
I was going to stop you there. When you go there.
Is that it?
Next one.
That one?
That's the one, yeah.
So what you see there in revenue is about 3 billion of revenue generated over the period. So we're talking about 300 million a year roughly. Of sales revenue.
So total
sales revenue, So and your costs are roughly half of that.
Yeah, 150.
So it's 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's like an EBITDA of about 150.
Yeah, correct.
Oh,
how does that relate to the dividend?
I don't want to pay dividend.
That's actually profit before tax. So that's after royalty and depreciation.
Yeah, it includes the payback's about 4 years. Payback's about 4 years.
I think it'd be faster than that.
Yes.
But if your capital cost is 600.
Net, not profit.
No, capital cost is 380.
380.
Yeah, and you generate 300 million of. But then you've got obviously got OPEX as well. Yeah. So this is obviously an after-tax number as well, and we've hit it with a bit of a hammer. We've been pretty crude about it because.
So it could be higher.
Yeah. What price gas are you using there?
We're using the current gas price.
$13.
Yeah, or US, 12. Yeah, 11.70 or something US.
And depreciation rate for tax?
Just 10%. 10%. So we haven't used. I mean, for exploration, you get accelerated depreciation. We haven't used that. Also, we haven't used that you generally get every year a royalty holiday before you pay royalty as well, and we haven't used that as well. So, we didn't want the ASX to ring up and say, "Oh, you valued the project."
Well, Giuseppe's saying that under a certain amount, that you don't pay a royalty. It's like whatever. What's the royalty rate that you don't pay tax under? The production rate.
Yeah, it's whatever the production rate is. You just don't pay a certain amount
because it's cubic meters.
Yeah, 30,000 cubic meters or something like that. Is that right? What is the royalty holiday, Giuseppe? I can't remember.
Is 10%.
No. Remember, there's a volume of gas where you don't pay royalty. The first, I think,
is about, but you have to stay below this number.
Yeah.
Cubic meters.
yeah, no, but
Is 800.
Sorry.
I mean, you have to stay below a certain number, which is
On the slide.
I don't remember now, but you don't have to produce more than that. If you produce one cubic
once you
meter,
produce more, then you pay. But if you own the first 8 million, you don't pay.
exactly.
Yeah. So it's a royalty. It's a short royalty holiday. I mean, it doesn't really make a big difference.
Perhaps you get paid the bank back.
Yeah.
And I noticed
That's
you're
a
also
good point,
talking
actually.
about shale gas there, but be careful using that term because people think, oh, no, you have to frack it. No, it's not, because it's not a shale.
It's the shales that actually
Generate.
Yeah.
Biogenic from shales.
Biogenic from shales. So you've got this layering of shales and sands.
Yeah.
And
bugs, yeah.
I think that's it. Are we done?
Anything else from here? No. Yeah, we're done. Thank you very much, Ed.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, everyone on the overseas for making it today, and everybody who is there online.
Cheers. All the best.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.